Absolutely. Okay.
Okay, so how's the practice going with the foundation? No, not happening. All right. Don't worry about it too much. It's a little bit of a small hurdle that you will get over in time. It's just a matter of getting used to holding a pen in one angle, writing the letters in another angle. But you'll get it sooner or later. But we are not going to waste too much time now in just practicing basic strokes. I want to jump right into showing you how to make the letters. We will go slowly. I'll show you the minuscule letters, the small letters. And I'll give you some indication of how you can get the sizes and proportions right. All you need to do is try to keep your hand firm. So there's complete opposite of what I normally try to tell everyone. Keep your hand loose, let it flow. This one is the exact opposite. So I'm going to show you how the letter form looks. So there are no surprises. You know what to expect. And then from there, I'll show you how we can begin, because that way, then you know what the final outcome is going to be. You know what we are aiming for. Oh.
Have we lost Aditi?
No, my camera
Okay.
is behaving very fussy. I don't know what's up with the setup, but I haven't figured that out yet. All right. Okay, so these are the basic letters. They're not too complicated. As you can see that they are just a combination of the various strokes that we've been doing. So there's vertical strokes, rounds, it's just pretty much the same, and variations are the same. So don't feel intimidated. There is a method with which we will now make these letters. So I just want you to look at this, pay attention here, don't do anything. Just listen to how I'm making this, and we are going to make all of this together. You will be making it with me. So don't start beforehand. Right, so we will start off with making a line or a horizontal line across the top. This is about a centimeter away from the top of our perforation line. That's over here, not the edge of the page because we can't measure it there. There should be a perforation line. So you make a line from end to end or just within the boundaries at 1 centimeter from the top. Don't bother writing this down. I'm going to give you all the instructions again as we do it as well. Then also this time today, if you want to save time, if you have a long scale, if it's long, use that long scale. A foot ruler would be good. A 30 centimeter ruler would be good. Yeah, wait, I'll give you time to go and bring all this stuff. So I want everyone to just sit and listen. Don't worry. Okay, now on the side, we are going to make another line, again 1 centimeter away from the edge. On this line, we will make our scale, exactly like we've made over here. This one is just for one set, one baseline, X line, guideline. But in this case, you make the scale all the way from the top of the page to the bottom of the page. So you will have to start from this side and go all the way to the bottom. Now you can keep the page in any orientation you find comfortable. You might want to keep it like this so that your pen sits perfectly flat. That is fine. You're not required to keep the orientation of the page only upright. There's no such rule. Once you make all these, we are going to make a set of ascender, X height or X line, baseline, descender. This descender of the line on top becomes the ascender of the line below. Okay, So just listen. I will be repeating this several times. If you're confused, don't worry about it right now. So the descender of the first line comes right up to the line below the baseline, and the ascenders of the line below would touch this line. So that becomes the ascender line of these set of letters. That way we conserve some space and we can keep the letters touching each other. All right. There's no rule that says this is how you have to make it. We're just making it for our practice sheet right now. Then I will show you how to make sets of letters using the same kind of shape. So we repeat and reinforce the same kind of shape. So we've already started with these, the oval letters, O, C, and E. So we will continue with these. Add to that some long stems from the ascender line, long stems from X line to descender. And then we will move to just these upright minuscules. Then we will make the ascending letters with ascenders. Then some letters which are just curious letters because they have some unusual strokes. And then we will move to lines, letters with oblique lines, lines which have, or letters which all have a line that runs at an angle. Okay, so this is how the whole script is distributed, because this way we can keep practicing just one hold, one set of strokes, and reinforce that shape and make the hand stronger and stronger. All right. Okay, so far it's clear? Great. So I want you to start off now. If you want to take a minute or two, go and get your scale. You can go now, and the others can start making these lines. We will make a horizontal line on top first. This is going to be our first line. Now, if you've got a clutch pencil, it's better to use a clutch pencil for these lines because you get really fine lines. The clutch pencil also goes and touches the scale right at the edge, so there's more accuracy. But if you don't have this, if you even have just a regular, even just the edge, a flat edge of anything, even that is fine. So I'm measuring this time. As much as I tried to resist this, I felt that it would keep you disadvantaged if you don't know what the measurements or the proportions are. So we'll do this, but remember, eventually it would be nice for you to start writing those letters without having to resort to these measurements as strictly as we do in calligraphy.
What are the margins you're leaving from the top and the sides?
1 centimeter from the top and 1 centimeter from the side. And it's just so that there is some room over there. So if your 1 centimeter is half a centimeter, it's okay. Or 1.5 centimeter, that's okay. Because we are not working with absolute measurements anywhere else. So I've made these, and now I'm going to start making the scale from the top to the bottom. It may be tempting to make it from left to right because we're used to it, but please avoid it. When you're making this scale, you can make it both ways. Either you can make the scale on one side, like I have shown earlier, like this, or you can make it like this, whichever you're comfortable with, like a checkered flag. A small stroke on the left of the line, a small stroke on the right of the line. Because we've got this 1 centimeter margin on the left, you can do both, whatever you're comfortable with.
Aditi, can you have you done the middle lines also, the descending and ascending ones?
No. We first have to make the scale.
Okay, good.
Based on the scale, we'll know where to make the ascending and descending lines. So I'll give you those measurements as well. Remember, use the same pen to make the guidelines that you're going to use to write the letters. Don't change your pens halfway. So if you're going to write with a green pen, use the green pen to make the scale. Okay, now right from the top, make a line that's, you hold the pen such a way that it's flat, not at the shallow angle that we were holding. And make a short line going to the right. So you see, if you get upright edges that are perpendicular to the line that we have made, then you're holding the pen correctly. And do this part very slowly. You can take up to 5 seconds per stroke. So all the impatient people out there, breathe, breathe. Speed is not a virtue when you're doing lettering.
Aditi, you're doing 6 or you're just going to do the whole line?
The whole line.
Okay.
See this way. It's like a chain continuous on the left. In historic manuscripts, also sometimes you find these scales at the edge of the page. Sometimes you'll see that the baselines of the page are just marked with the holes. So these would be, there would be a device called an awl, which is used to puncture holes through paper when you're binding paper. And based on where your guidelines are going to be, they would take this awl, heat it up, and puncture holes through the vellum on multiple sheets. So you would probably make this guide sheet on probably wood or template. Place the template on top of your stack of papers, then make these holes. Then they would make these holes on both sides, and they would put a string across. And they could then put some maybe a red colored powder or something. And then I don't know if you guys have seen construction workers do this. They have a line on which they apply chalk. They hold it taut, and like a guitar string, they will pull it up and then snap. And then the chalk goes and attaches to the paper. So you can do it that way, or you can't, they did. And we don't need to do that now. And sometimes they would also dampen the paper and then mark those lines. Sometimes they would take like a blunt knife and make scores of lines so that later on you don't have to erase anything. It's too much work. But today we are going to do a very clunky method. I want you to know this is very clunky because our tools don't support us. But if you can, now I can use this roller scale, and if it is really good, I could just roll down and keep marking my guidelines. But we might have to resort to measuring these. We are going to make this the ascender one. So you can put A1 over here on the top. Then count 3 pen widths. 1, 2, 3. Measure the distance. This would be about 1.75 mm. I'm sorry, we have to do it like that. It's ugly and very inelegant. Because the system was developed in a very sophisticated manner, but this is just the dumb way to use it, just because we don't have the right tools. But we need the accuracy for today.
Nidhi, can you repeat?
Sorry?
Can you repeat?
Yeah, so 3 pen widths down, we draw a line. This is our X line. And then from here again, now see, I have made this line between pen width 3 and pen width 4. So then after this, we count down from the 4th mark, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here will be our baseline. So you measure again. This is about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1.5, just 1 millimeter short of 2 centimeters. I'm measuring it from the new X line downward, not from the top. So we have this at about 1 millimeter short of 2. Now, the whole point of this exercise is to make sure we get absolute parallel lines.
We used to count the 5. What was that earlier?
That's the 5 pen widths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
This is the same thing, 5.
Same thing. But this time we are adding an ascender and descender space.
Aditi, you said it's short of 2 when your previous one was around 1.3 centimeters, right? The X for the X height.
Correct.
But I'm getting 2.2 for the second one. I got 1.3.
Yeah,
But-
same here. Even I'm getting 2.2.
That's fine. It go by what your pen is measuring for you. There will be variation between our pens. Just make sure that there isn't extra gap between the marks over here. Okay, now here's another way that I do it. I eyeball to some extent. I'm going to show you how to do this because I don't have the patience to do this whole marking and everything as much as I would like to. So I keep an eye on this line here, this line which is under my scale. And if you're using a regular transparent scale, you will also have this line. Usually this line is measured 1 centimeter below the edge. So if you were to potentially keep doing this, align the line that you've drawn to this black line and you draw another line, you would be 1 centimeter away. Now I'm going to use this line to eyeball the spaces and keep a parallel distance between the line that I've drawn already on paper and this black line. Measure 1, 2, 3 in this case and mark this line. This will be descender 1. So we have ascender 1, X line, base line, and descender 1. Ascender 1, X line, base line, descender 1. In this script, you do not need more than these ascenders. There are certain scripts which will have an ascender 2 and a descender 2, but not for this script. Now, below this, we can start measuring from here. Now, this descender 1 also doubles as ascender for the line below, which is making this line, the first line that we made. I'm going to number these lines also. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? Everyone has drawn 4 lines so far. So line number 4 is also line number 1 for the next set of lines. So after this one, we count 3 pen widths, 1, 2, 3, and draw a line. I'm turning my book around, rolling my scale, eyeballing this parallel over here. Oops, let me show you. And then making that line. And if you aren't sure of it, you can measure and go ahead. That is fine. I'll give everyone time. So after this, 1, 2, 3, the next line will come 5 pen widths apart. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is a little tricky for me to measure because when the distance grows, sometimes we can't tell parallel lines. So I am winging it. 1, 2, 3. So when I do this, formally, I would use a proper T-square and Hajar equipment. It's taken as seriously as making a building. After A1, we have X line or waistline, then baseline, descender 1. And now we've got 2 base guidelines. Is this clear? Are there any doubts about this part?
Aditi, on the side, on the left-hand side, can you write how many pen widths is each?
Yes.
Yeah.
The first part is 3, second is 5, third is 3. So this is one set, 3, 5, 3. And then below that, again, you do a 3, 5, 3. Everyone getting your lines proper? Then I'll continue making mine as well. Okay.
Aditi, you did 3, 5, 3 and then again 3, 5, 3, right?
Correct.
Not 3, 5, not
No.
3, 5, 3, 5, 3, 5, right?
No. 3, 5, 3, 3, 5, 3. In each place, I gave ascender and descender space. As you are drawing this, please do mark what these lines stand for. Now, here's something that you can do right at the start. If you want to, you can make this your primary guide page. You don't need to write the letters on this. You can darken the lines and then use printer paper that you can keep on top of this and then use the lines as a guide. So I'm going to show you that. That way, you don't need to make this over and over again. You spend time, do this once, and then you can practice more. Now, if you don't have the printer paper, since I've not told you this before, don't fret about it too much. We will be able to do the letters in just two sheets maybe. But if you know this trick, then when you want to practice these letters on your own, you don't have to, I mean, this doesn't become a deterrent to practice that, oh my God, now I'm going to have to make all these lines again.
That's exactly what happened to me last week. Like I was itching to practice just the three
Oh.
letters, but I just didn't want to do the lines.
Yeah, it happens. So it's perfectly fine to use these guides like this. Make the lines in pen so that you can see through that 70 GSM printer paper.
Why don't we just take printouts and keep them for practice?
You-
That's also doable.
Sorry?
I mean, just take printouts, like do one and print,
Yeah.
take copies. Yeah,
Yeah,
for
but you
practice.
don't want to waste printing also on it. So you should be able to see just enough for you to be able to write. And you can use U-clips or these, what are they called? Binder clips to keep the paper steady so that it does not move.
Aditi, how are you getting zigzag lines?
No, you see it as a zigzag line.
Oh,
not
okay.
zigzag.
Really?
Wait, I'll align it.
Ah, yeah. I was wondering, wow, what a fancy pen or edge of ruler or something was happening. So interesting.
Yeah.
Where on earth do you get something like that?
Even when I looked up, I was a
My
little shocked.
goodness. Yeah. Wow.
Sorry, what was that? I think you missed it. How
Yeah.
that?
I'll show you some magic. So
Yeah.
parallel lines over here start becoming zigzag lines.
Oh,
It's
so
just
it's your camera. It's a camera.
it's the camera thing, yeah.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I was just so fascinated.
thought
She's
maybe
right.
the
I
ruler-
thought it was one of those craft pens, or you know how it is. Those stamping, those things, scissors, like you get that cut weird. I mean,
Yeah, you
I
do get.
never seen a pen that does it, but I was like, you never know what you're getting. Or
I
it's the
should-
edge of your ruler. Or
I
something
should have
like
just maintained the illusion.
that. Yeah, good one.
We should end the sheet with a descender line, right?
No, not necessary because we've not counted our lines. So depends on how many you've made.
So I have only space for maybe one more line, but I already have a descender now.
Yeah, so you don't need, even I have just 3 spare pen widths too, but I can't make anything over there. So I'm letting it be.
I have 6 pen widths that are spare.
Don't worry, it's okay. We could have different lines. I'm just worried that your pen is, if you're using a different pen, then you probably made more pen width markings. If your pen
No,
is
I
the
have
same,
same marker.
then I'm wondering if you made them properly flat or if there's gaps between them.
Yeah, I mean, they're probably not accurate for sure.
Yeah, so it's okay. Doesn't matter. I also left 1 centimeter from the bottom. So if you went all the way to the bottom, then you might have made at least 2 extra.
No, I left that 1 centimeter as well. I just
And
hope I haven't messed up the order of the lines.
so you should have 2 lines on the top,
Yeah,
then a gap, then 3 lines that are equidistant,
yes,
and then a
Then a
gap,
gap.
and keep making those 3 lines.
yes.
Now, just so that we don't get confused, you can use a different colored pen or even a ballpoint pen is fine. You mark all the baselines with a dot like this, just next to the baseline. So go over the names of the lines, and at every baseline, make that dot. So you know where your letters are going to sit. And keep checking ascender, X line, baseline, descender. So baseline, ascender, X line, baseline, descender. Ascender, X line, baseline, descender. So you should get about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines.
I have only 5 baselines.
Can I have a look, Ashika?
I don't know if you can see.
Yeah, okay.
So I have the ascender,
Yes,
the X line, and then the baseline.
correct.
And then this becomes again the ascender. So the X.
No. Baseline doesn't become the ascender.
Okay,
Below
right.
the
So then this is the
baseline.
descender, right?
Correct.
Descender
Yes,
and X and
Correct.
base
correct,
and descender
correct.
and
X.
X base descender,
Yes.
X base descender,
Huh?
X base descender.
Yeah, that's it.
So I got only 5.
That's
But I
okay.
think that I've done this 2.2 thing. So those 2 centimeters extra.
Yeah.
are
2,
probably-
3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it seems okay. Don't worry. Seems fine. Okay, now I'm going to be writing on this paper because if I write on over here, you won't be able to see the baseline. What have I done? Yeah. So since you won't be able to see the baselines on my printer sheet, I'm not going to make it on the printer sheet. But if you have made this guide sheet, feel free to use a printer sheet to make your letters. And then you can keep using this as a guide sheet. Remember, the guide sheet is for this paper. So somewhere, note down that this is for a Luxor Super Chisel pen so that you don't forget what pen you used over here. And please, when you are writing this, make sure that that writing also is absolutely beautiful. Don't just scribble it. Use every opportunity to write beautifully. you can go a step further and measure the width of the pen and write that the nib width is so and so. So against a scale, you can measure the width. This is about 4 mm. So you can write that 4 mm. That way, if you find another nib that is 4 mm, you can practice on the same guide sheet. Now, this can be a permanent guide sheet for any pen that is 4 mm wide. So you may have a few proportion problems, but not shattering. I'm trying to cover all the technical bases so that at the end of this class, you should be able to pick up any flat or broad edge pen, make your guide sheets, and then practice with that pen. Actually, any hand that you want, but definitely the foundation hand. All right, now, I don't know if you noticed this, but there's one more curious mark on the top of the letter A here. So I made this so I can show you. In some places, at least the better lettering books, they will also give you an approximate width of the letters. That really helps you to make these shapes. Now, remember in last class when I was telling you to draw the eye, I mistakenly told you to make the eye this wide. And that would really throw off our lettering. They will also go ahead and probably tell you how much space you need to leave between letters and also between words. So today we are not making letters, we are not making words, we're not making sentences. So we don't need to know that space, but you need to know it. That distances, spaces, heights, widths, all of that can be measured, often is measured, standardized, and is given. So look for an exemplar sheet like that, where you will get at least an indication of what this spacing is. So you can always be accurate. Right, so I wanted to show you this so that you can see how most letters are in a square form. But that does not mean that the letter starts at the end. This A is actually slightly wrong. It needs to start a little away from here. But the bowl at the bottom comes and touches in such a way that the final shape fits a 5 nib width by 5 nib width square. And all these letters generally will fit in that. So you have A, C, E, O, D, B, Q, all of them. I and J do not have a square they fit in. They just align along one pen width of the square. J, descender, it doesn't matter, that the letters need to sit together on the baseline. So even if the descender flows across, you don't consider that in the square space. It's only for this part. Then the letter M will consume about 8. So it's much wider than a square. And a W consumes 9. You don't have to remember this, but know that these letters are going to be wide. So you don't need to try to fit them within this square. This is a common mistake we land up making. The M and the W are wide. I, J, and sometimes even the L can be just, here also, the L is just along one single line and usually about the width of one pen. That's about it. All right, let's start with these letters. We'll first go back to the O. If you are unsure of your letters, use a spare sheet, make some strokes, and start making this. The angle of the letter is about 30 degrees. So if you want, you can make this. I have a scale over here on which I can mark 30. But if you want to quickly know how to mark your 30-degree, look at, sorry, not with a pen. Just make a vertical line between any two lines. This is 90 degrees. The same distance on the side, make an equilateral triangle. You will make, and then if you divide this in half, you will get a 45-degree angle. It's just simple logic, simple maths. And here, just visually divide it into 3 parts. So you get 15, 30. So this is 15 degrees, 30 degrees, and 45 degrees. So this is the angle that you want to maintain. This is just close to the angle that we need. Now, if it is 32 degrees or 28 degrees, it's not a big deal, but it's definitely not 45 and definitely not 0. So every time you need to align your nib, you hold it against this, check that that is the angle, bring that onto your paper, place yourself securely, see that you are sitting properly, exhale and make your stroke. I'm making an ductus so you know how the stroke works. From 11 o'clock, you go all the way around to 5 o'clock. This is stroke 1. And then you can overlap a little bit on 11 and come and overlap again on 5. If you hold the angle right, you will get a perfect oval, and the overlap strokes will not sit next to each other. They will sit right on top.
Aditi, please do it again.
Yeah. So this is 12 o'clock position. So I'm starting the stroke a little from the left. I'm going towards 5 o'clock. And then I'll overlap and go from the other side and come and join here. So go outward just a little bit. This is much rounder than we normally make it. If you are doing this, then you're coming down, whereas you need to be going rounder. And if you're doing this, then you're again making it shorter. So this is what commonly can happen. You just get weird shapes. So visualize a circle. If you feel the need to draw a circle and have the middle of your nib just go over that. And you should be able to make a shape somewhat like this, and then you can make adjustments. These shapes are always much more exaggerated than our hand lettering. So you will have to, I guess, throw your stroke outward.
Aditi, if you could just see the stroke.
Yeah, it needs to go rounder, and maybe also start the first stroke a little lower. I think you started it from the X line, just slightly lower of the X line.
Okay. I'm struggling with this since a few days now.
No, it's just the place that you're starting. It's like just mismatching just a little bit. So what I see, your first stroke is perfectly fine. It's just starting in the wrong place. So if it starts here, you're getting this shape perfectly fine, but it's because it's starting over here. Then the next stroke will go outside of your X line if you go further. So you seem to be doing this, and then you come and sit fat on this side. So
Right.
because you're trying to accommodate the stroke within our X line, you are flattening your nib, and then it comes and sits flat over here. So now just shift your line, shift your starting point to maybe one pen width below where you're starting.
Okay.
So it could be that if you go too low, you will get something like this, where you will then struggle to come and touch the X line, which is fine. So now our starting point should be somewhere between this and this.
Okay.
Okay, that's the adjustment that you will automatically start making.
Aditi, if you could just break up the two shapes, because I'm
Yeah.
understanding it, but then I see it together, then I'm forgetting what the first shape was.
Okay, I'll do that for you. The two shapes, don't be too confused about it. The shape will come automatically. We have to just move in a circle and complete the circle in this way. That's all. So don't try to make the shape. That is very automatic. I'll show you in two separate colors. That might make it easier.
When I start, I'm getting it flat. Yours is starting with a curve. Mine is
Yeah.
starting with a flat. What am I doing wrong?
Angle of the pen. See, if you keep it at 30 degrees, you will get this at start and the finish. So just twist it a little bit. And the second stroke, Ashika, comes like this.
Yeah, you're getting a nice fat O. Mine are just a little bit more squashed, but
So try moving away a little bit. Maybe
Yeah.
you're making the
yeah,
circle.
that helped being a little bit lower than the
Hmm.
top line.
Sorry, is the last one proper?
Yes, much better. As we go along, we are going to be making more O's only. So you will get the practice.
Can you see this now? Is it better?
Yeah, it is coming better. So now you're getting the first part nice. The second part, go outward a little more. You're just making a shortcut out of it. So just outward a little more and round it.
Okay.
Can you see mine? I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. Yes, sir. 1 second. Okay. Yeah.
And where am I
Saroj,
going
in
wrong?
your case, you're starting out perfectly fine. As you come towards the end, I think you are twisting the pen a little bit. So it's becoming a flat. So it's like you're starting this way. Now let me. Yeah, so you're starting this way. But when you go around, then somehow your pen is also turning. So try to not turn that pen. Come this way, all the way, and let the pen continue to just make a thin line. So then as you come this side, it becomes fat, and then it becomes thin again.
Okay. Should we do the full line practicing O? This
No,
one
no,
was-
I'm showing you the next one.
Oh,
All right, next one. We've done this before, the E. We have drawn a horizontal line. So here again, we will make 3 strokes, yeah? So the first stroke remains the same. You all of you are going to get lots of practice making this first stroke. It's exactly the same for the E as we do for the O. Please observe the whole thing. Don't start drawing, because then everyone will ask me to do it one more time. So this is the first stroke. The second stroke comes all the way to the other side. The angle remains the same. So you will get what looks like a angular edge here. Remember last time also I told you, then bring this line downward, just one pen width down, so you know where it finishes. In the air, carry the pen towards the left. Place it on your bowl on the left and then drag that line to the right. So it stops in the same place. If you don't tilt your pen, these shapes are exactly how they're meant to be. Like, for example, here's my E. My overlap is going to do nothing over here because that's exactly how my shape was when I moved the pen across. So it won't, nothing is going to come outside over here. When I make the line from the left, I overlap it on top of the same, on the bowl on the left and drag it to the right. I will still maintain the curve on the E. One more time. So the ends fit into each other like Lego bricks. If you keep the angle the same, nothing can go wrong. Like this, I can do all sorts of shapes. And my edges will be clean because I keep the angle exactly the same. See, everywhere, if I maintain the angle, I get clean edges, and also I can make more and more strokes without, as in, if I were to do this and this, and if I were to change the angle and make it flatter, then part of it will stick out because the angle will have changed. This is not the angle at which this curve was made. I hope I'm not overcomplicating it.
Aditi, I just noticed that the curve of the E, this what is this called? Bowl in the center is like more narrower and just nicer looking. So I think, is it this curve is a bit too long?
Yeah, just stop short. Don't go all the way down.
Yeah.
You can keep changing this and see which one works best for you. So you will come across multiple options for E also in the future. And you can't say any one is more right than the other. There are some hands in which this angle is not horizontal. It is at about maybe 40 degrees or so. So that E also can look different like this. And that's also perfectly fine. So if you find this an easier option, we can change it. Make it like that. So you bring it only to about 1 o'clock and then bring the line down straight to about 8 o'clock. So this is another option. I find the first one a little more elegant. I think I must have something against these angular lines. I don't know. But if you're getting too bothered by this one, then go ahead and make this one, the second one.
When I go towards the right,
Hmm.
it protrudes. This way. Is it the angle?
Yes, it must be the angle. 1 minute, I'm just going to check it. Yeah, it is the angle. You can see on the third E, if you observe, the angle of the pen looks a little flatter, shallower.
Can we do some new letters?
Yes, if you're comfortable with this, then we'll make all the new letters. Next one will be C. Which is just part of the E. You just bring it up to 1 o'clock and stop there. One and two. Okay, now for the next one, before we go to the ascenders or descenders, let us go to the row below, and here we are going to make, I'm going to make the short stem letters. That's the I, M, N, U. And once we have ample practice with that, then we'll start throwing our ascenders and descenders. So here's how we make the I. Pull the line straight down almost to the end and then just make a gentle turn to the right. Very gentle. Don't make a U shape. And then make this V shape on the left, and it doesn't go straight in, it curves downward. This is the ductus, just a quick turn to the right and then come downward. So this is 1 and this is 2. Did we make the stroke last week? I don't think we made this. We jumped straight into the ovals. So this is the letter I. Do you want to give it a shot?
Can you show this again, the I, Aditi?
Yes. Okay, just to save time, I'm going to request everyone when I start making the letters, if you don't mind, just look up. Stop doing whatever you're doing and just look up. Okay, I'm making the I now. This is my baseline. And this is the X line. I start with a stroke that's just a straight stroke that comes almost all the way down and then turns slightly to the right. So I'm not making it actively turn right. Come down and then just take the nib a little to the right. Automatically, you will get this tapering end. Then from the same point, you go a little to the left at 30 degrees like this. Then come inward and then downward. So inward and then downward so that you get a nice twirl here. Now things to avoid. We don't want to make it like this. Don't make it this wide. And then on the left, don't make it so wide also. It just goes one width, nib width down. So here it just goes slightly to the right and lifts up. And then on the wedge over here, it just comes down up to one nib width beyond this side and then goes right back in and then downward at the same angle. See? So here it's gone too far. Just a little bit over here and then back in will give us a nice wedge shape here. Okay? Do you want to try it?
Aditya, can you show this the top part? I
Yeah.
didn't get it.
Yeah, the wedge part again. If this is our stroke coming down, on the top, see our pen is already at this 30-degree angle. You just slide this down the 30-degree up to maybe one pen width away, then horizontally inward. So it goes in, and then as it comes and touches over here to the left edge, you turn it downward. So you get a nice rounded shape. If you didn't do that, this is how it'll look. You get this, and you get a very sharp edge here. We want to avoid that. We want a nice rounded edge. Okay?
There's a gap coming there.
Yeah, so it's possible that the gap is coming because maybe you're taking the pen a little too far. See over here,
Okay.
I too have a gap. When it goes a bit far, then
Acha.
coming back in, you might not come back on the same track. So then you'll end up leaving a little bit of a hole. So it's a very gentle movement.
Aditi, does this one seem kind of right?
Yeah, that seems okay. Don't make the tittle on top. Not as yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or,
Aditi,
yes.
Aditi, I have a question. So when we are doing these strokes, for example, in this eye, the
Huh.
top stroke when we did, then the ink is falling twice on that area, so that there will be difference in the shade.
Yeah.
Those things matter?
In a sketch pen, there will be that shade difference, but it doesn't matter. When you start working with ink, the ink is so dark that it usually absorbs all these things.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, the next one, I'm showing you the L, which is just an extended version of the same. So now we are going to use the ascender line. Start the same stroke from the ascender line coming down. It's exactly the same. Just come straight down and turn exactly the same, and a wedge on top exactly the same. That's it. You want to try it? Okay, if you're comfortable with this, now we are going to make the next two letters over here. Let's make the D. So the D is a C and an L. Please observe so you know where to position these strokes. We make a C like this. Make a good proper C. Do not try to make it a small or thinner C. It's a full C. And then we make the L shape in such a way that it comes and touches, the left edge touches this corner of the C. So the tip of the C will be overlapped within the L shape, which is called the long stem. So you have to manipulate your brush or pen in such a way that it comes and creates that overlap, and you get a good circular hollow within the D. If you go too far, you will get a triangular white space over here. We want to avoid that. If you are too close, then this space looks like it's been encroached upon, and you might get a little tip of the C poking out from here. If you're comfortable with the D, we will proceed to make the Q exactly the same, except that we will attach the long stem to the top of the bowl. So we have a regular C. I'm making this, please observe. And now we will just take a line that comes from the top of the C. You can create a wedge if you want, or from the same point, bring it down. Scrolling a little bit. And then turn up. This is the Q. Okay, try it. Now, when you're practicing these letters, practice all the bold letters together. All these have the bold made in the same order. The first stroke is the same. Second stroke also is the same. The third and fourth and so on, those strokes will change. Now, the next line, we are going to make what might be called a counter bowl. So this is where we make the other side of the oval. We've so far been making only a small section of that, except for the O. But now we are going to use this and its variations. So the first letter we'll make can be the letter B, since we are making these long ascenders. When you come down here, instead of turning short, you can make a long turn, like you've attached the long stem to this part of the oval. And then from the other side, starting like within the stem, you can make the counter bowl of the oval and the wedge on top. So this is one stroke. You come all the way, then turn around up to here, and then this one. 2, 1, 2, and 3. In this place now, remember that our oval or our E or the bottom of the O is very lavish. So let it go all the way. Don't try to truncate it here. There are scripts in which we have a much shorter oval, but then the lettering itself is based on a very narrow oval. So the B might look smaller. Okay, so as we proceed, if I'm just assuming if no one is asking for any repetitions, I'll keep making the next letter and so forth. If you feel you have some problems, do stop me and then I can repeat it, yeah? Okay, moving on to the letter P, it's the same thing, just positions are changed. So the P is made using a descender. So it's the same stem placed in the bottom, make the wedge on top, and then starting a little below, not from the tip top, but from a little below, like we do the oval, just make the other end of the oval. Stop where you're meant to stop. Don't come all the way here. And then make the rest from the left. So don't come all the way around. Here there are 2 strokes on the oval again. This is stroke 1, 2, 3, and 4. Notice that our ductus has got a sequence and also arrowhead, so you know in what direction your strokes have to go. If you try to bring the stroke back over here, in a pen, you might be able to achieve it, no problem. But when we move to a flat edge dip pen, there pushing the ink in the wrong direction might be difficult, and you might not get very accurate strokes, then it just starts looking very ugly. Okay, do you want to try this one? Or everyone's done? If you're done, then I'll...
Aditi, what about the B? First, we have to draw the line or first draw the circle?
First the line, then the bottom of the line becomes part of the circle, and then the circle on top.
So the line will go, will continue at one stroke only.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, now we will use the same kind of movement of the hand, but we are going to change the stroke and make it a little narrow and upright. So have a look at this. I'm making the letter N. We'll make the short stem like the I. In fact, we'll make the I itself. So this is the stem of the N. And starting the next stroke, pretty much the same place as the oval, you do this whole round. And when you come towards this 1 o'clock, then you go straight down and turn towards the right. This is N.
Aditi, how much did you have to practice or kind of put in the work before you got these shapes? Or because you've done lettering, you know, this was easy for you to pick up new scripts?
No, I have spent years. It's not
So
easy.
would you say, like, for example, this script, when you first saw it and you tried to learn it yourself, right?
Yeah.
Were you not, you were getting like ugly shapes and then you just figured it out and put in the practice? Like, I'm just trying to understand what work to
Yeah.
put to really get to this level.
It's first is your hand steady in holding the pen without moving the angle of the pen. That is the most important, and it's not easy. We are so used to either flat pens with a tip or pens which we have to move to get the shape. Like in this case, we would probably freely move this pen the way we want to get the shapes we want. So trying to keep your hand steady is the more difficult part. Getting the strokes is not that difficult. It's a matter of what internal shape you're trying to make, where you have to start the stroke and where you have to end the stroke.
Right.
Then sometimes, like in the case of long stems, you find that your lines will keep going to a little slanting. That is because subconsciously, because we are drawing at a 30-degree angle, our hand wants to make a line at the counter 30-degree. So then that is just a practice of making the hand go straight, and sometimes it will wobble. So you'll start off here and then it'll become straight. That I've gone through all of that. That's why I'm able to tell you how to go about it. But just motor on. It won't impact so much when we have to do this lettering casually. Okay, this is now the letter M. For M, you will make the turns a little sooner. That way your letter M will fit in 8 pen widths, thereabouts. So all you need to remember is don't make it as wide as the M because it just looks too big. A lot of the stability in my hand came from illustration. Since I was illustrating, I was able to draw these lines with more control than I've seen other people do it. And in that, even in illustration, consistent pencil sketching every day, it makes a big difference to your muscles. Right, next one, we will make the letter H. So H again will have the same long stem, the L shape, and the arch of, sorry, too low, of the N. Okay, everyone comfortable with this? More or less, unless everyone has just abandoned everything and I'm the only one writing.
Aditi, Aditi, I'm having a problem with this tip at the top, where you are doing the line, the tip, I'm not getting that second stroke so sharp. It's coming little more.
Then it could be the pressure that you're putting on the pen.
Okay, because I don't know whether you can see.
Yeah, show me. Yeah, it
see?
could be, yeah, I can. I think it could be the pressure. Maybe you're pressing it too much. So try just.
Or is it that the nib has become a little fat?
Yeah, it could be that the nib is also worn out. But that also could be because of pressing it too hard.
Okay.
That's again something that you will modulate over time.
Okay.
All right. Next, what do we have? And okay, next we'll move to
One more thing.
Yeah.
Aditi, you said to use this template. So if we put paper on that,
yes,
we're getting these marks of the
marker. Yeah, that's okay. That you'll get. That's not
okay.
And that will appear on the template also. Templates land up becoming very dirty. That's okay. You should be able to see the line. That's all.
Okay.
Okay, now the next stroke, like we made the N, we are going to make a slight change in the eye, shape of the eye, and make it like the oval. So it's going to be like we made it for B. So we start off with a short stem, but then we start moving it away actively and make it like the bottom of the oval. And then on its right, come and make the letter I. So this will give us the letter U. One, two, three, and four. After U, we'll make the letter T. So the T does not start from the ascender line. It starts just a little above the X line. And it ends at the bottom like the U. Oh, I've made it very upright. And the crossbar comes again right below the X line and extends a little towards the right. It's a very ugly T. I'm going to repeat it. I don't know why I'm not getting these flat crossbars. So this part, the positioning of the nib is exactly like we do the positioning of the wedge. But instead of turning it inward, we go outward. So we get a nice triangle, but a closed triangle on the top here. And it extends outward just short of where the bottom ends. You don't need to match the bottoms. But you will not have a hole over here. And look at the size. It's a very short size. It does not go all the way as high as the other ascenders. Now in this same place, we'll make the letter F. I want you to just observe this. The F, we are going to draw it with a slight curve. So this is our 30-degree. When we normally make the line, we make it straight like that, right? But this time we are going to come in a little from the left like we do the oval. But then straighten out the line, bring it straight down. And then as we come to the bottom, take this a little to the left. So you get a very narrow line here. Just see the whole thing that I'm making. From here, we will make a short stem to the right. It's just a short line. We don't make a curve out of it. On the top, we complete this like the C. And just below the X line, we will give another crossbar like the T. So here's the F. Start from 11 o'clock like the oval. And then as you come down, move a little to the left, maybe about 2 pen widths higher than the baseline. And then you do a short horizontal stroke to the right. Finish the top off like the C and a crossbar like the T.
Aditi, can you tell me what needs work in this F and T?
One second, let me pin it and I'll have a better look. It's on the right track. Maybe you pull down the ear a little too much. Maybe keep it a little higher. That should look fine.
And what about the T? Is it again a bit too wide?
No, I think the T is also fine, but see what's happened on the top. It's maybe your line has gone too far out. It can be contained still a little inside.
The crossbar?
Yes.
But
It's
this
starting
one?
very far away. No,
Oh,
on the
this
left.
one.
Yeah, on
Okay.
the left. So just a little smaller over there would be nice. Okay, now for
Aditi, one question. The crossbars in both the T and the F, will the width of that will be less than one pen width?
yes, it automatically is because it's at an angle.
Okay.
Okay, do we have 10 minutes? Then I'll finish the alphabet. That way, then you can practice this whole thing. All right, after F, let's finally make the A. A usually would go in this series because it has the first stroke is the same. This is the top of A. It's fairly wide. And it's the bowl in the A comes like this, like the opposite of E. Not my favorite letter by far. It's a very cumbersome looking letter.
Is there a variation like the O?
Sorry?
Is there a variation in the A, like using the oval sort of?
Yeah, well, they don't use the oval at all because that makes it look too fat, too big. For some reason, this in words it'll work. When you're making words, this will work. Sometimes this is a curve. Sometimes this is very straight. Sometimes it's even narrower than that. I have tried to detach myself from its ugliness, but sometimes it just, when we got to practice, we practice. One, two. All right. Now we are coming into the, I guess, crooked lines. So let's try the more easy crooked lines first. Start off with, I'm making the K now, please look. Start with a tall stem. Make the wedge. And then angle a line from the X line to come somewhere towards the middle or slightly higher than the middle on the main stem. But we make a very elegant curve like that. So you get a nice thick weight on top, okay? And then somewhere along this line, not from the main stalk itself, just a little to the right, keeping the same angle, you will pull a line down and lift it up. So K is a very beautiful letter. And we need to do nothing to get these nice little terminals. All right, everyone okay with K? It might take a little practice to get these shapes. So typical problems are the angle of the third stroke. You might get this fine, but this might come too far, or it might come too close. All these kinds of things are bound to happen. So don't be afraid of making adjustments by yourself. Look at the letter and see what you would like also. Does this look too wide? Then you just say, okay, I need to then place it a little closer. Place it closer and then see how it looks. A lot of times not a lot of time, 100% of the time, everyone who's ever studied lettering has had to figure out for themselves how their hand should move, 100%. All right, moving on to the letters with oblique strokes. Let's start with the letter V. Now, we are going to make lines that come in the same angle as we had practiced. this more or less. So you will be comfortable with this. Keep the pen at 30 degrees, keep checking. And then make a line that comes almost an opposite of that 45-degree that we were practicing earlier. And then take your nib right up and then a little to the right. And from there, make the next stroke. So this positioning is also something you can figure out for yourself. If you make the letter like this, and you make the second stroke like this, it makes the V look like it's leaning towards the left. If we make it like this, and we try to bring it too far away, it makes the V far too vacant. So figure out with your nib. How far was this? I kept for the second stroke, I took the nib up and started a little from the left of center. For the second one, I did not take it up. I just took it as far away as the starting point, because this is normally how we make a V. But what can I do that's better? So if I make my stroke from somewhere over here, it's good. And how do I decide or know how to go there every time? I take my nib right up to the top where I started the first stroke, shift it a little to the right, and then bring the stroke down. Let's try it over here, shift it a little to the right, and let's try this. So Ashika, your question about adjusting, this is how you can keep figuring out what you can do differently so that your strokes match the end result that you are seeing. Now the W, here we can make the first stroke a little less wide. I've deliberately made it come maybe not shallower. This would be steeper down, not as shallow as this. Then the second stroke I will make from the top, which would just be not this turned, but slightly turned like that. Just a curve, gentle curve. And then repeat this. And then we will do the same thing that we did with V. So they end with the same kind of stroke. Don't start with the same stroke. But stroke 1 and 3 will match, will be parallel. And all strokes will be pulled down. Don't take a stroke up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now on the same lines, we will make the letter Y, where we will use the width of, I think, the letter V itself. Sorry. Yeah, the same proportions as the letter V we can use for the Y, or you can make it narrow depending upon the application. Let's try making it like the V. So again, you make it slightly further away. And this time round, I want you to observe this stroke. It's handled in one stroke. Don't look down, just look up. We make the same kind of stroke like we made for the V, but we don't stop here. We pull it down and end below with a very nice, graceful twirl or curl like this. Turned it a bit too much. You don't need to turn this much, but it's fine. Now moving on to X. I'm sorry I'm speeding this, but in the recording, you could probably be able to slow down and listen as well. In the X, I have made the first stroke even wider. Then you can take your pen right up from where we have made, where we've ended the stroke. And wait, I need to confirm this because I made it 2-3 different ways and then I goof up. Sorry. Yeah, no, we can do it this way if we want. Go back to the top. Bring your pen down here. And from here, make a stroke that goes towards the middle like that. It's a very unusual stroke. We don't make it like this, but if you see, it is no different than the stroke we make for the bottom end of the oval. And then emerge from the other side and just end it elegantly like this on the other side. These are all very natural strokes made by the pen. So you're not doing anything other than directing the pen in a particular, at a particular angle. 1, 2, and 3.
That was strangely the easiest one. I don't know if I did it right, but
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is easy now because your hand is warmed up to the strokes. All right. Z is just a zigzag for a change. Go straight, come straight down. And you can give it a slight curve and then go straight again. This is, I suppose, the easiest. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now 4 more letters left. Let's do that fatafat. The first one of those will be the letter J. J is pretty simple. Leave some room from the earlier letters because this is how it comes down. Comes down and then turns inward a little more. And from the other side, you will bring a stroke down and join it over here. And then finish this with a nice wedge. Now for both the I and the J, in place of the dot on top, there's a shape like this. It's like a little flame. And you can avoid this also. If you want, you can write a J. There's no other word that looks like it, letter looks like it, so you should be good. 1, 2 or 3, 3 or 2. And 4. Now here's where all the peculiar strokes begin. Just 1 or 2, not too many. The next letter is R. We bring it down in a short stem like this, like the letter I. And then from the same point as we start the oval, a little below the X line, keep the pen down and take it up, touch the X line and bring it down and up again. So this can be a very tricky stroke. We do not want to make it like this. It's just a simple go side, down, wave down and outward. Very subtle shape.
क्यों मम्मी 5 मिनट और
Okay, quickly now the S and the G. For the S, visualize a half line and you have a half circle on top and a half circle right below that. This is where our line has to go. So start where we start the oval, little lower over here. And you will make a shape like this. We need some head space and some bottom space because the next stroke will go touch the X line. And the stroke after that will come and touch the baseline. So we need to start from here and end over here. That's stroke 1. And take it beyond. In making the S, very often we miscalculate the vacant space on top and bottom. That will happen, let it happen. And every time keep adjusting where you make the turn. Sometimes you'll make it too short, sometimes you'll make it too long. The second and third stroke can go beyond the X line and baseline. Make all those. Don't compromise on the grace of the letter. So if you've made the S curve, the central curve too long, if the second stroke goes above the X line, let it go. If the third stroke comes below the baseline, let it come. And then make the adjustment for the next practice letter. All right, now the last bit, everyone please pay attention because this fellow has decided doesn't want to follow any rules. Usually that letter is S in most cases, but here the G has decided to take up that mantle. We are going to make an oval which is about 4 pen widths tall only. So it's a short oval. Then a little left of this oval, you will start making what looks like an S curve, but it's short on top, quickly turns around, and then goes all around the descender space and makes this shape. And then you have a tiny ear that sticks out to the right. This is the letter G. One, two, three, 4, and perhaps the only one which has 5 strokes. Okay, that is our foundation hand. First thing you can do is try writing your name in this whenever you get time. And when you are writing these letters, focus on just writing the script. Don't try to write them as letters. Oh, I'm making a mistake here. Exactly the problem that I'm telling you to avoid.
Diti, strangely, the S doesn't have that small letter S only that we have. It's a proper capital.
The loop.
Yeah.
No.
The S and the normally S we write like, you know.
Yeah,
the
but
small-
not
yeah.
for, not for letters which are in print. When we do cursive, then
Yeah.
we have to make that loop. Okay, so this is quite a bit now for the rest of the week. But take time, be patient. Do no more than about 20 minutes a day. Don't stress yourself about it. Make sure you're sitting properly. Hold the book. Hold yourself straight. Don't tilt your head funnily. Try to keep yourself in the center. Keep your work in the center between your shoulders. Don't lean and do this. If you feel you're doing that, take a break, go somewhere else, come back. And every frustrating letter is something that your muscles are correcting for yourself. So don't give up at that point. Keep doing it. Oh, not bad. There we go. Wonderful. Very nice. Great. So please send in your questions, difficulties, discuss on the group. Even if I'm not responding, you all can try and figure out the problem here and there. Yes, Anju, looking good. So everyone's A's, I think at the bottom, you need a little bit of a negative triangular space. Don't come straight into the oval. Let me show you. This part, let this part remain. This has to be visible. But we'll discuss all of that. Now, next week, I want to take on another lettering style. So I'm going to leave you with this to practice this. And based off of this, I will show you some other fun lettering styles where we don't have to adhere to such strict rules. But knowing that these rules exist, it'll be good for you to then make something your own, something modern, contemporary, and more fluid. So if you do practice this, you will be able to hold our pen much better. Also for next class, if you have any kind of ink, even fountain pen ink is fine. Just keep it handy. And a flat brush, that would be good. And if you have something like a boru or a reed pen, or if you have yeah, something like this, or you have a popsicle stick, we can carve our own pens and write with that also. So just keep these things handy. I'll try to do as much as I can, but after 2 weeks of rigorous work, I think we can have some fun next week. Okay, great. See you all then. Thank you for your
Can you
patience.
send us the exemplars so we can practice?
I'll send it right away. Yes.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.